Hey everyone, Jenna Mike here, and I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new series on Disney Plus, Wonderman. This is the new Marvel Spotlight presentation of new character Wonderman, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and as well as starring returning Trevor Slattery, played by most talented Ben Kingsley. And I just want to say I was completely wrong about this show. I was not excited for this show at all, even when it was announced. Even when it came to the casting, Yahya, I know he played Black Manta in the Aquaman films. I did a fantastic job, and I thought, man, I really want him to play some black characters within Marvel. He's gonna cross over Marvel. Let him give some black characters. But with Wonder Man, surprisingly, this was a show, really a character study of the character of Simon Williams, the actor. He is an actor in the MCU, but we find out also he has powers. And in the current climate of the MCU, we find out that there is a clause, just like with any other employee or a person getting into a profession, that there's a rule that you cannot be a superpower individual in order to do that said role, i.e. for, liability and, and precautions and stuff like that. And you get to find out how that clause got put in place in this show in a very unique way. One, I really want to say is that what made this show was Yahya and Ben Kingsley's chemistry. This was a show really about their dynamic as actors in the industry. Even if you're someone who is an actor, or I guess a film critic like myself, that you understand the tropes that go on, in this industry. Actors being difficult on set, actors reading lines and kind of overcomplicating it beyond what the writer intended, and just saying the lines. And also, being rejected in this industry. You get more no's than you do yeses, right? But when you get that yes, it's going to be a very amazing opportunity. But however, the responsibility of that opportunity is in your hands, and you can mess it up. Simon Williams is a person who I could say is a perfectionist. He's a perfectionist that is getting in his own head. And you see that dynamic with Ben Kingsley's character, Trevor, who has a notorious history being the Mandarin back in Iron Man 3, right? Or the fake Mandarin. But I think that if any other character is going to interact with this Trevor Slattery, would be Wonder Man, Simon Williams, who is an actor, but also a superpower individual, right? And I felt that they did a really good job of the pacing of these six or so episodes. However, I will say this. When the release of this show comes out, all episodes will be dropping at once. And I will tell you, if this show released weekly, some people will probably be checked out. For some Marvel fans, traditional Marvel fans, you won't accept the stylistic approach of how they're telling the story of this show. If that makes sense, right? There's not really a lot of action scenes in the beginning half, but yet you slowly start to see the layers of Simon Williams coming off. But also you're seeing his also supporting character, his family, his background, right? His actual demons and struggles he have with himself, right? But also his love of cinema and why he wants to be an actor above anything else, right? And yet you see this where the Department of or Damage Control, I should say, the DOG, they are coming in to basically persuade Trevor Slattery and actually manipulate Simon Williams to reveal that he has powers so they can lock him up and everything. Now, they do a very smart thing of why, in the world of the MCU, what is the current status of the Raft? Why the Damage Control wants to lock up superpower individuals. And surprisingly, they do it in a very realistic way, which is kind of parallel to what's going on in our world right now. And I thought but in the sake of the show, and also in the current climate of the MCU, it makes sense, especially if you go to shows like Daredevil Born Again and Wilson Fisk going against vigilantes and everything. But yeah, we see some returning characters in Damage Control from Miss Marvel and from Spider-Man No Way Home. But as I said, the pacing of the show, once this show hits around episode 4, you actually are getting momentum of what's going on, what's happening here. You just invested with these characters. You're not really caring about all the superhero stuff, right? But I will say one of my flaws I did have with it was at the very end. The very end is no spoiler, is that you find out, at least understanding how powerful Simon Williams is in terms of his abilities. He's an enhanced, right? But he's not no magical person. He's changed on a genetic level, right? And you get to see also his backstory of him as a child, that he been had these powers. And it's surprisingly like verbatim what would happen if a certain type of Marvel character, I should say genetically, if you get what I'm trying to say, and they don't name drop it at all in this show at all. And I thought that was a missed opportunity just to give a little bit comic book stuff to fans, right? Just a little bit, right? And even at the end of the show, we don't know the fullest extent of his powers, even when we get to the last episode and how this season ends, right? But you also have to understand, Wonder Man is not a popular character. Even the current title right now, he doesn't really have a presence right now and currently in Marvel Comics, not to the full extent that he had back in the 90s and 80s, right? But I felt that this reimagining of this character, using Yahya as the actor that he used to portray Simon Williams, I thought was a great opportunity to highlight a unpopular character and make him interesting. And very complex in terms of a character that gets in his own way mentally, overthinking, right? Anxiety, stressing, and it's weird how his powers is even kind of tied to parts of his anxiety, right? That he can't, fully control, and that he just explodes, right? Similar to like, the Sentry, not to that far extreme, but just a parallel to notice. But I felt that they did a really good job of establishing the main heart is the relationship between Simon Williams and Trevor Slattery, and what happens is that Wonder Man is a fictional character within the MCU. He is a movie character, just as these are fictional characters to us in this world. Wonder Man was a movie years ago that Simon and his dad watched, and he's got inspired and want to be an actor, right? And now, years later, a famous director, i.e. a Martin Scorsese type, a Christopher Nolan type, Quentin Tarantino, you name it, right? Is rebooting Wonder Man for today's audience, right? And now one thing I thought they did a really good job of, even when the climax of the show is revealed, that even if there's still level of mystery and of Simon Williams to the mass public of terms of who he is. And I think is in store for saving him for his return in the MCU. I don't know where, I don't know how. Actually, I do know where, possibly, if they're smart. But I do agree that with the show, the marketing of the show basically tied to the acting community of the audiences. If you're an actor, you're a filmmaker, there's a lot of things you're gonna relate to this. If you're just a lover of cinema and lover of movies, right? Dialogue, there's certain dialogues that you're gonna appreciate in this show. There is cameos, but not cameos in the way you think. Actor cameos, if I should say, as playing themselves. And that was it was funny and also interesting how they incorporate them in this show. But one thing also I would say is another negative is the marketing of this show honestly has been horrible. And I mean by it because they did the same thing to Ironheart, that you're not promoting this show only a few weeks or a month or so prior to the show coming out. And really the material that you're giving, you don't have much to show us. And actually watching the show, it makes sense because there isn't a lot of superhero stuff in this show. You can take it or leave it, but just like back in the old days of Netflix, where we could just binge a series on a weekend, talk about it, and then go on to the next thing, that's basically what this show is. But the same way they did with Ironheart, which I thought was a okay show, it had its problems, but definitely the marketing of that show was a disservice to what that show actually ended up being, right? And the fact that they've done this with not only with a white character who's been race swapped, but also a black character who's a black woman, a female character, and you just see kind of the repetitive marketing of just trying to slip this under the rug, you know what I mean? But that's not a testament in terms of quality, because this is a well-made show. And Destin Daniel Cretton, he also directed this show, and he's also be directing Spider-Man. And this dude understands characters, and you see him doing with Shang-Chi. And after watching this show, I cannot wait to see Spider-Man Brand New Day, because he's been a fantastic filmmaker, and he does a really good job in terms of writing, formulating the screenplay, but more importantly, having you, the audience, be invested in these characters. But aside from the marketing of this show, which I do not agree with, and I will also say the way they do representation of black people on this show is what I've been championing for years, that unfortunately Hollywood just does not know how to cross that line. It's so frustrating, even though foundationally this is not a black character. But what they do with Simon Williams and also his ethnicity with his family members, his brother, his mother, and it's just a very positive and uplifting form of representation, and doesn't beat you over the head of oh, this is a black character. And really, race is not really mentioned at all in this show. There's like one episode where there's a cookout, but that's because it's of a birthday with Simon Williams' mother. And I thought the way they just showed that would just being normal, but also on a Marvel television show, would just so welcoming. This is what we're talking about, representation. You don't have to force feed us, just let this be organic. And but aside from that, I thought this was a fantastic show, great performances, well directed and well written. And you guys get to check to see this show. I'm going to be dropping all episodes on Disney Plus. If you have a chance to see this show, Wonderman, let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.